You can't go wrong with great customer
Not
service.
at all.
Now, some people will say, "Oh, it's expensive to train my team." Bull. What's the old saying, right? What if I spend all this money on training someone and they leave? Well, what if you don't train them and they stay?
And they stay. That's right.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of best practices, latest trends, and modern techniques for professional business communication, including advertising, marketing, digital channels, social media, public relations, and alternative options.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. My name is Kyle Golding. This is Pritch Pritchard, the professor, APR, fellow PRSA. And today, it's the beginning of a new year. We're going to talk about trends and predictions for 2022.
Yeah.
So let's start off right at the top.
Right at the top.
Obvious, you can't ignore it. We've told you this many, many times on the podcast before. I'm going to drive this home again because these predictions fall into this line. We're going to talk about what we expect to be normal in 2022.
Right.
Not a new normal.
Right.
Just normal. Get that through your
go.
heads, folks. This is normal for 2022. There's no such thing as new normal. The obvious one, of course, is the continual effects of COVID-19 on society and definitely business.
Yeah, globally.
Yep.
Yep.
So, right. On the business side of things, we had shutdowns, we're back open, vaccinations, all kinds of stuff like that. We all know that. We're not going to get into that. But we are going to talk about the fact that the COVID limitations and restrictions and what's happened over the last 18, now almost 24 months, right?
Yep.
Affecting how we live our lives and how we handle our business has really focused people on simple is best.
Right.
Back to simplicity, right? Don't overthink it. Definitely don't overspend on marketing or business development or anything like that. Go back to the simplest idea and start there.
Yep.
So easy. And I think that's going to continue to be more and more important. Also, more and more important is an idea, and it seems like an oxymoron, so I'll explain. Buy local, but online.
Interesting. Okay. Well, consumer habits are already have already trended that way.
Right.
With the lockdowns and people not being able to go to the store, delivery apps.
That's exactly the online part. So people understand supporting their local businesses, the strain that's been put on businesses, the emphasis on buying local or buying from things smaller. You know, it's fine. You guys are shopping Amazon and Walmart.com, and that's fine. But understanding your local shop, especially when it comes to things like food or crafts or gifts or things that are very specialized, buying local, but the local businesses have to meet those consumers halfway by having a great online presence, tons of information on social media because it's front of mind. It's very timely. Are you open today? Can I come before Christmas? You know, can I get it shipped in time?
Right.
Still, even if you're buying local, you might have it delivered, like by a person in a car or shipped, you know, by the guys and girls in the big trucks, right? Even if it's across town, you can still buy local, but have it delivered or have it purchased the way consumers want.
Or go pick it up.
Or curbside.
Curbside.
And I tell you, one of the things for me on curbside is just the convenience of not having to wander around the store, you know, and this, that, and the other, but being able to drive up, comes right out to me when businesses are really good about paying attention and being very good with their time, not trying to make you wait in the parking lot forever.
Right.
But if I can drive up, get it delivered to me with a couple minutes, I don't have to deal with crowds, I don't have to deal with waiting in line.
Yep.
The convenience is well worth. Even though it's something I know where to go find it in the store, just the convenience alone.
Absolutely.
Right? But being able to look at it online, look at prices, compare prices, different sizes, having the option to bring it back or ship it back, even not even have to go back into the store again if it's the wrong size or it doesn't work out. All of that is consumer focus. And so even though we're all focused on trying to buy local as much as possible and buy for the smaller, those smaller and local businesses have to offer as many of these options to us as possible in order to make us feel part of the process.
Online is here to stay.
It is.
And anything that causes the customer to stop, to delay, to rethink is probably not going to help your business.
That's right. So you have to meet the consumers where they are. And they don't expect everything you can get on Amazon.com, but they do expect a lot of the basics.
Yeah.
And a effort from you as the shopkeeper or the business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
so that's trend. Is that trend one?
That's part of trend one.
Part of trend one.
This is all because of COVID. These are focuses now. Also because of COVID, you need to think about your margins differently, your sales margin.
Yeah.
Especially if you have closed or limited your brick and mortar, or changed your whole business philosophy because of COVID, because of availability. There was a time where in business, if you said, let's offer free shipping, people would have thought you were crazy.
Right.
Of course, shipping costs are way down now, much easier to deal with. But if you've lowered costs or reduced costs or changed costs in other areas because you don't have a big brick and mortar, because you don't have as many employees on staff, whatever it is,
right,
you can transfer those ideas into offering free shipping, offering free returns, things that are value added for your consumer.
Well, there are a lot of people that will not buy a product unless the shipping is free.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, they look right for that. And I've seen plenty of people discuss this, the psychological effect of seeing free shipping means it's free.
It's free.
And they're not even paying attention to the price of the item itself.
Because it's undoubtedly built in.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So think about how you build. Maybe take a little bit less margin order to move more product or move product at a different time.
Yeah.
And those traditional, people only buy on Black Friday and other types of trends in consumerism are now kind of upside down.
Yeah.
So think about that as you build your pricing models, your availability, or your ordering and et cetera. In fact, when it comes to inventory, smaller, more nimble inventory is actually very advantageous right now for a lot of businesses. So how does a small mom and pop compete against Walmart or Amazon?
Right.
Having small, nimble inventory that can be fulfilled quickly, can be updated quickly, changed, and you can respond to consumer behaviors, trends quickly,
right,
as opposed to be sitting on a bunch of material that you end up having to put on discount or some other sort of fire sale, if you will.
And we may want to think about doing a whole episode on inventory because today, just in time, is going to be hazardous.
Yes.
Because of the supply chain.
People are understanding that. And so how do you balance supply chain? And, of course, it depends on if you're bringing things in from outside the country or if they're inside the country. But people have now been focused more on delivery and supply chain than they ever have. It's being talked about on the news every night, right?
Right.
So,
mainstream stuff, not business.
Yeah. So, can I order this? Can I get it?
Yeah.
I mean, my smaller shops or my local shops have that opportunity to. But print on demand and fulfill on demand allows you to invest less in inventory with less risk.
Yeah.
Thus, you have the opportunity to maybe either add SKUs, add options, things that you didn't do in the past. I could tell you for my personal podcast, the Saturday Morning Hustle, right? We have a ton of swag, T-shirts and hats and sweatshirts. And there's a bunch of that stuff that I wouldn't just go and produce if it wasn't print on demand.
Right.
And there's absolutely a ton of colors and combinations I wouldn't produce if I had to actually make them and put them in a box and sit them in a warehouse somewhere.
Right.
But because it's print on demand, I can provide those options. If no one ever picks it up, it's okay. It doesn't actually cost me anything.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's something to consider for sure.
Well, and another point to that just came into my head is that it's entirely possible that the smaller shops are going to have the inventory you're looking for, where the big box stores can't get it in the quantities. Therefore, they can't get it.
That's right.
Right. And I'll take cream cheese, for example.
Okay.
I know this is kind of weird.
Comes from Philadelphia, right?
But, well, right, right. My wife and her whole family are cooks. They love to cook, and so much of the Christmas stuff requires cream cheese,
sure does.
Candy and pies and that sort of thing. Well, my sister-in-law went to Walmart, couldn't find it here or in Dallas where they were. I mean, it wasn't anywhere. Spencer's, our local shopping center, had tons. Their shelves were completely full. So,
in fact, one of the major brands was offering to pay people not to make things with cream cheese this year because of their supply chain issues.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the description.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to say the wrong one, but
all right.
Their ad campaign was, "We may not be on your shelf. We'll pay you not to use cream cheese this year."
Gosh.
Which actually is a pretty good discussion about my next point, which is digital tools. Is kind of a big umbrella we use for social media, for email, for text messaging, for anything like that. But use of those tools allows you to continually to personalize and customize the experience.
Yeah, without a lot of effort.
That's right. Especially, anytime you use a point of sale system now, you're automatically getting an email of like, here's your receipt, and you're already connected through all of these processes. So why not take the opportunity to add a personal note or to figure out trends of specific consumers in order to then send them a text or an email with, hey, Pritch, we know you like this. Here's the offer today. Come in today, or here's a discount, or did you know we have an additional supply, or things of that nature. Yeah. That personalization is going to be key in 2022.
Absolutely.
And the information's at your fingertips. You need to utilize it.
Absolutely.
That also dovetails into customer service.
Thank you.
Always important.
When did that become a dirty word?
Amazingly so. You can't go wrong with great customer service.
Not at all.
Now, some people will say, oh, it's expensive to train my team. Bull. What's the old saying, right? What if I spend all this money on training someone and they leave? Well, what if you don't train them and they stay?
And they stay. That's right.
So customer service is more important than ever because people are looking to create business relationships. It's not transactional. People don't want to just get stuff.
Right.
They want to shop in places that they support because they are local, because they employ people in their area, maybe because they support a cause, or because they're woman-owned or black-owned or some other idea besides the transaction itself.
Right.
And so
a relationship
building goes back to customer service. People can't support you for these reasons if you don't explain that to them and communicate to them and invite them. Don't use it as a tool for selling, but as a reason to build a relationship.
Well, two thoughts. One is that great customer service will many people will pay more for a product if the customer service is great.
Yes.
The second point is that if your customer service is shitty, then why should I trust you on the product?
There's no reason to do business with you, even if you have a better price or availability, if I don't feel good in the process.
Right. Absolutely.
And often now, too many people think if it's an online transaction that there's no need for customer service.
Far from it.
The exact opposite.
Absolutely.
The more of a digital transaction it is, the more you need to follow up with those customized messages with maybe a personal touch of any sort. Now, don't go too far. If they don't want you to call them, don't call them. If you text them one time and they don't reply, don't be overbearing about it.
Right.
But just because someone buys something online doesn't mean they don't want to hear follow up or understand the people behind the execution.
Yeah, and a personal peeve of mine is that many times, and I'm thinking of one company in particular, the customer feedback that you get the after the purchase is, hey, take this survey. No, I don't want to take a frickin' survey.
Oh, quit wasting my time.
Stop wasting my time. Exactly. Send me a note and say how much you appreciate the fact that I'm doing business with you. That's all I need.
And present an opportunity for me to tell you whatever I want to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't just give me an ability to answer your questions that you need the specific answers to. Let me tell you what my experience was in my own words, and then you as the business owner need to take the time and put the effort into translating that into actionable information to move you forward.
You don't get much information out of a star.
No, you do not. And how many times have you been filling out a survey and you go, well, according to the way this question is phrased, it's not really this, it's not really that, I'll just give it whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm just hitting the buttons so I can get my discount or the offer that you promised me. Right. But at the end of the day, all the digital tools, all the connection we have, all the media, all of this interconnectivity, the best selling tool, the most potential for your business to be successful is word of mouth.
Absolutely.
It's people who do business with you telling other people, I buy from them, I utilize their product or service, I put my money here, and I'm your friend, and I'm telling you, you should do the same, you should trust me. There's no digital tool existence that has that value to an actual transaction.
Right.
So you can't create great word of mouth. You can't create brand evangelism through SEO and not through review sites, mostly because people understand now a lot of those review sites are pay to play. You can get 5 stars across the board if you're willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
But by customer service.
Yep.
Your marketing should create an expectation of your product or service, the value Then you deliver on it, good product, good service at the value promised with customer service that creates a potential relationship. If you do that, the potential for word of mouth, the best selling tool on the planet, goes way up.
Yeah.
If you ignore it or expect the machine to do it for you or the system to do it for you, or just simply expect that if you do a good job, people will return, you're missing opportunities and eventually going into the opposite direction.
Absolutely. You're just going through the steps, just
Right.
going through the motions.
So now, step 2, tip number 2.
Tip number 2.
You're hearing this term a lot. I'm not excited about the term, but we're going to break down what's behind it. They're calling it the Great Resignation.
Right.
Lots of people quitting their jobs
Right.
for lots of different reasons.
Right.
Some people don't feel confident going back to an office scenario. Some people have been wanting to quit their job all along.
Right.
Some people have had a side hustle that they're just taking this opportunity to go and ramp up, right?
Yep.
The good news is there are a lot of platforms and digital tools and online courses, etc., that can teach you or give you the basics of starting your own business.
Right.
Whether it's a product or a service, whether it's digital, it's something that's transferred, virtually, or it's something that gets put in a box and shipped out. Whatever it is, there are lots and lots of places on the internet and on smartphones and on apps to start your own business. That's great.
Yep.
But something I'm seeing a lot is
Right.
you get certain aspects of starting a business. You get product or service development. You get a delivery method. You get a transactional. You get to charge their credit card, and you get paid, and they
Right.
get the thing, and it gets shipped, right? But you don't have infrastructure underneath it to grow that business.
Yeah.
There are limits to an online business started during the pandemic as to how far it can grow and replace that income that you're leaving the day job.
Right.
And so you need to understand, and there are resources out in the world. There are books and websites and blogs and podcasts about the infrastructure that's necessary to build a business. But don't be fooled by an online course that teaches me how to start a business is everything I need to know.
Right.
It's just scratching the surface.
Right. Exactly.
So it's an opportunity for people because they can learn things they may not know or find insights or be focused in ways in order to get a startup launched.
Right.
But how to take it from making $100 a month to $100,000 a year, that's a huge process.
That's a big jump.
A huge one, right? And the idea of it's just gonna blow up. It's gonna go viral,
Right.
and I'll just keep using the same system I used when I was selling 10 at a time
Right.
to sell 10,000 at a time.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And the whole point is you want to make that, you want to have that kind of success. So do your research. Take the time to understand how to build infrastructure in our business, or who are people in your area or someone that you can connect with online digitally now, thanks to, of course, Zoom and other types of communications that you can work with specifically to develop and scale a business. That's very hard to do, even for people who full-time business in the business all day, every day. But as a side hustle or a pandemic startup, if you will, you really are going to miss those opportunities. So ask for and seek help from professionals. If you're being successful, if you're being profitable, if you're generating income, return that income, spend some money to make some money in order to put the infrastructure underneath it so that a virtual business can be a real business. And for no matter what, please, for the love of God, don't do this without a CPA. Don't forget to pay your taxes, sales taxes, personal taxes, otherwise.
Right.
And if you're not sure, and if we're not telling you enough or someone else isn't telling you enough, consult a lawyer, an attorney, an accountant, etc. Work with your professionals to get it correct, proper, and legal.
That's right. And let's not forget about membership organizations.
Sure.
AMA, PRSA, and local resources, community colleges, and vocational techs, VOTECs.
All of those things.
I mean, all of those
They're all
things.
being affected by what's happening now. People are going back to school, taking courses, developing skill sets, which they should be doing, and I congratulate them on doing that. But That's just part of the process. It's not the whole process.
Right.
You can't get everything from that.
Right.
And if you don't understand that, you shouldn't start a business.
Right.
You really shouldn't.
Right.
But I'm going to assume, folks, if you're listening to this podcast, you get that enough.
Yeah.
So reach out to experts, and then when you get expert advice, follow it.
Yes. What a concept.
How hard is that, right? Okay.
What a
Next
concept.
point, consumer experimentation. I call
Right.
this power to the people.
Yeah.
People are experimenting on how they are consumers, how they buy things,
Right.
how they consume media, etc. And they want control of the process. Power to the people, right? People are experimenting, though. They're trying new things. 10 years ago, if you said, "Oh, I bought that online," people would have said, "Oh no, your credit card's going to get hacked.
Right.
You're in trouble,"
Absolutely.
right?
I remember that conversation.
I caught myself recently in the middle of a mall during Christmas shopping. I'd seen an offer online, went into the store, tried on the product, liked it, said, "Oh, online it's this price." The guy in the store said, "Not my problem." Went back outside the store and was going to just buy it online and have it delivered for free
Right.
at a substantial savings.
Right.
But I pulled out my credit card and dialed in the number on my phone in the middle of the mall. Now,
okay.
I wasn't like waving it around at people,
right.
but I did do this in the middle of a mall. Why? Because we have become comfortable with our tools
Right.
and with the systems and the process.
Right.
Back there's a time where someone would have said that was the most insane thing you could ever do was we pull out a credit card or dial it in on your phone
Right.
in the middle of a public space.
Right.
I did it because I've got security tools on my phone, and if something happens, I'm going to get an indicator. Is this you buying NFTs in Dubai? No, that's not me. So,
Right.
so people are comfortable shopping online.
Right.
They're comfortable doing transactions through apps and other digital mediums. They also have created new opportunities. We talked about earlier about you can be local, but you still need to be online to be digital
Right.
and different
Right.
ways of doing creating the actual transactions. But I think there's some opportunities to go one step further. And this is sort of like if you're going part of the Great Resignation, maybe you want to build a business around this. Curation services.
Right.
Not just we sell T-shirts,
Right.
but we sell a selection of T-shirts that fit a specific lifestyle or a specific topic or to a specific consumer for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
Curation of these are like-minded products. Maybe they're not all T-shirts. Maybe they're T-shirts, hats, and sweatshirts and keychains and something else. Or maybe it's food, or maybe it's something to do with Harry Potter, things of this nature. And even then, it's not just everything that ever had to do with Harry Potter. It's the best things, or the most specific,
Right.
whatever it is. But
Right.
being the curator and finding ways to get yourself paid to be that curator, or if you're the producer, curating your things so that you make the consumer shopping experience different, better,
Right.
something unexpected.
Right.
These are opportunities because consumers are experimenting.
Exactly. And their behavior has been evolving for a while.
Yeah.
We got pushed off the cliff in 2020 with COVID. But yeah, I mean, that makes infinite sense because if you go to a site for a particular product and they're offering things that are related to that, you probably will end up spending more time and more money.
Yes, the likelihood of being the same consumer target audience.
Yeah.
And if you're the curator, if you're providing a service, this isn't just explaining. It's actual exploration. It has to go deeper. Mm-hmm. Not being a personal shopper who follows a list you give them,
right.
but someone who actively goes out and seeks and curates, that puts together things you wouldn't find elsewise, and then explains why these things go together. And if you're interested in this, if you're excited about this idea, these other things should explain to you, or should connect to you for these reasons. Now, whether it does or not, it'll be different for every single consumer.
Right.
But that's the depth you need to go to if you're going to be a curator of services or products.
And some of the leading companies are doing that now, but not enough.
Yes, they're scratching the surfaces. They need to go deeper. And if you're a small or startup, small business or startup who needs to compete against those brands, those established brands that are doing it, this is how you do it. You offer something different.
Yep.
You offer more in things like this, something you have control of time, your effort.
Yep.
It's not necessarily something you outlay a lot of cash for,
Right.
but if you'll put your, get up early, stay up late, work on weekends, put the effort in,
Right.
you can develop a selling point of differentiation for your business versus the big brands if you're willing to put this work in areas like this, because it's going to be more and more important to consumers in 2022.
Right. And not enough companies are doing it.
It's a
at
huge
this point.
opportunity in 2022 for the
absolutely
little
is.
guy to compete against the big guys if their curation skills, if their style, if they can hit it right, they can really jump up into the hearts and minds of the consumers.
Absolutely.
And create repeatable business.
Yes.
If you do it right
Very
the first
important.
time, meet the expectations that you set and set yourself apart, very, very different, then the people drawn to you are very likely to repeat that and refer you to other people. It goes back to word of mouth.
Yeah.
See how this all cycles
It-
together?
it's
It always
cycling.
goes together. Everything always goes together. In a good system, it always goes together, right? So the next big point is not just having a niche, but a niche within a niche.
Okay.
Yes.
Do tell.
Specifics.
Yeah.
Highly focused. And starting at, we talked about simplicity earlier, starting at the simplest, most focused version of your consumer, your audience, and expanding out from there. No more shotgun approach. No more everyone is my client.
Right.
No more let's throw it out there and see what happens.
Right.
Or let's buy a Super Bowl ad, or let's just run, let's just flood the market with TV or radio advertising. Those days are gone. Instead, you need to get as specific as possible and work out. Also understanding if you're part of the Great Resignation, if you got a startup, this side hustle that you're trying to develop into something real, that's exactly where you start, is your most specific audience.
Mm-hmm.
The young entrepreneurs, people who are new to it, are seeing great leaders tell them on a regular basis that failure is part of the process,
Right.
and that change is inevitable, and they are embracing it. And even more in 2022, fail early, fail often, learn those lessons.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, because in a couple of 2-3 month window, everything went sideways, the old days of pivot is a dirty word is out the window. Pivot is no longer a dirty word.
Absolutely.
And the idea of if we're going to pivot, we're going to take our time and it's going to be a 12 to 18 month process. But no, we need to do it to 12 to 18 days. That sounds insane to say out loud. But
it's
we
necessary.
did learn that lesson.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
not every time. Don't get crazy about it. I got to pivot every 30 days. Don't go nuts, folks.
Right.
But if you are forced into that, and that is the best option to continue to have your business be viable, and you've exhausted every opportunity, you've done your research, you've done your analysis, you've talked to your consumers, you've looked at the opportunities out there, you understand your strengths and weaknesses, all this. If you land on it's a pivot, then pivot.
Right.
Get at it, 100, go do it. It's not a dirty word. It's essential nowadays. And again, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you'd have pivoted your business in 30 days off a little bit of feedback from a niche,
Right.
we would have told you that was a mistake and that's kind of crazy. Not today.
Not today.
It is
Nope.
what it is.
Yep.
You have to be that nimble, and you have to be paying that much attention to your business, to your audience, to the trends, to the market, etc. So pay attention, be locked in with the idea that you can fail small and fail early, learn those lessons, adapt, move forward. If necessary, make the pivot till you find the lane that works for you. You create a differentiation, value proposition, etc. Go for it.
The whole thing.
Right. So pivot is not a dirty word. Mass media and celebrity influence is the least impactful thing in 2022.
Well, is there even a mass media anymore?
Well, it's there. Is anyone paying attention to it? No. Is anyone paying attention to advertising within the mass media?
No.
Hell no.
Hell no. We
The only-
fast forward through them.
We fast forward through everything except live events.
Yeah.
If you want to advertise on television these days, you should be either on the 10 o'clock news or a sporting event.
Yeah.
It's the only thing where people will watch it in real time.
Right.
Anything else
And through the whole thing.
through the whole
Right.
thing without fast forwarding or on a streaming service. The
Right.
networks have gone to streaming services and you pay an extra $2 a month to not have ads. We skip the ads and the pre-rolls. We all know how to get around advertising. And when we're forced to watch advertising, we're actually pretty aggravated about it in general. Outside of, I know I'm watching 3 Dr. Pepper ads back to back to back in the Big 12 championship game for football, because there's nothing happening in the game. It's a timeout.
Right.
So I'm also going to the kitchen. I'm getting a beer. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm doing all of those stuff too. So advertising effect in mass market is out. And the irony is, one of my degrees is mass communications. So it's not very mass anymore.
No,
it's niche communications.
Very niche,
right?
Absolutely.
So celebrity influence as well is not what it used to be.
Well,
hiring a celebrity to just pitch, to be the
Right.
spokesperson. Now, it's coming in different ways, but it's not what it used to be.
And there's a real downside to it if your celebrity is a bad actor. Turns out to be a bad actor.
Yes, who are you
Now
going to
you
get in
got
bed
a crisis.
with? If you get in bed with the wrong person,
Right.
which is also the flip side to there's a rise in alternative thought leaders. Used to be celebrities are movie stars, rock stars, and sports stars. Sometimes politicians. Now it's streamers, gamers, YouTubers, bloggers, social media influencers. But these are people who do what they do. They live their life the way they live their life. They're not interested in building your brand for you. They're not interested in actually being a brand emissary for you outside of getting paid to do it.
Right.
So they may also, the next week, endorse someone else or get a DUI or beat up their wife or get arrested for murder. Who knows?
You never know.
So the pro and con of celebrity and endorsers and influencers, you really need to do your research. But the good thing, the positive thing for 2022 is alternative thought leaders are becoming more and more important. If you go niche within a niche within a niche, very specific micro influencers, and you can experiment with short durations of relationships with micro influencers and experiment more until you find that right combination that makes sense, is a potentially good working relationship and something you can move forward with. A great example of the devaluation of celebrity is platforms like Cameo. Do you know this one, Cameo, where you can hire a celebrity to send a message, a video message to like, it's your birthday. I'm going to send you a birthday. Your favorite celebrity will record a message on their cell phone. It's a cell phone video of, hey, hey, Pritch, it's me, your favorite movie star. Happy birthday. Congratulations on retiring, whatever it is. And these celebrities are working for not thousands of dollars, but hundreds of dollars, sometimes less than that.
Going on the McDonald's approach.
Right, exactly, the value menu, because being a celebrity has lost the value that it's had in the past. Celebrity is a commodity. But influence or influencers are where the emphasis is going to be in 2022.
Okay,
so
there you go.
That's the niche within the niche. We've always talked on this podcast about creating community around your brand. Stop selling stuff, but create community. That community, of course, you want to expand it and make it as big of a community as possible, right? So that you can do as much business as possible. If your business is not operating in an expansion mode, you need to refocus on the smallest version of your community and, again, grow from the center out. If it's not expanding, go back to the start. Focus on your core audience, your most reliable,
I would say
your most loyal.
Yes.
Go back there, talk to them. We're in a community. We're in a relationship. Talk, discuss, learn, and then extrapolate out from there again. But at some point, you're going to hit a wall of growth for your community. It's okay. Once you understand what the boundaries of what your community can be and should be, continue to focus back in. We have another podcast episode about lifetime value. These are the focuses. You don't need 1 million consumers to spend $2 a piece. If I have 200 consumers who will spend everything they have on anything ever put out because they love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at fans of like BTS, the boy group, the Korean pop group, or people like this that no matter what this group does, they could put out anything with their face on it, with their name on it. They could put a song out tomorrow. Before people hear it, they will buy it. There's fandom in it. Now, their community is ginormous, but loyalty is the key. It's the focus, and it's continuing to have a relationship with the people that you do business with, not transactional.
Right.
That's going to be super, super important for success in 2022. Things that you can do for that, of course, is not just having people who are fans of your Facebook page, but having Facebook groups or Google groups or things like this, subgroups, Clubhouse groups, subsections of your podcast. There are platforms now that will allow you to sell memberships for your podcast where you can do just member-only podcast or public podcast, things like Patreon, etc. Things where you build very small, very tight, but very loyal and very invested communities. Those community members will drive the success of what brands you built the community around moving forward. Go back to the beginning, to the simplicity, and focus on that in 2022, because mass marketing is a waste of time and money.
Yep.
So create groups, create subdivisions, create real communication channels. Allow people within the group to understand they are actually communicating with the decision makers within the business or represent the brand. Not a paid spokesperson, not a bot.
Right.
And not a marketing message. But the people that if they say, here's what we love, or here's what we dislike, or here's what we would like more of, or here's where we'd like to see this go, they'll express it if they believe you are hearing them and it actually is part of the decision-making process.
Right.
If they believe they're talking to a bot or talking to a brick wall, they won't tell you, and then you won't have the opportunity to bring the data in.
Right.
Ask for it, listen to it, react to it.
Absolutely.
You do that if you build a tight-knit community. Focus on a smaller, more effective community than the biggest community you can build. It will organically develop into the size it needs to be if you do those things.
Absolutely.
So, small sample size of data can be substantial if they are loyal, dependable, and downright fanatical about
core.
your brand.
Absolutely.
That's right. It goes back to I don't need a million people doing this. A couple hundred people doing this is much more effective, and then the lifetime value is huge.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
of repeatability of it. Channels, not apps. Remember a time where everyone said, you got an app for that?
Oh,
You got an app for that? You got to build an app.
Right.
Got to build an app. The reliance on apps is out in 2022.
Okay.
But being on multiple channels, almost omnipotent on channels, is going to be key to business growth and building these groups and subgroups in 2022. You got to meet people where they are, communicate the way they want to communicate. The pro and con of this, the pro is it allows you an opportunity to reach out to people, to connect with them, to communicate, to make them part of your community. The con is there's 1,000 options out there.
Yeah,
and there's a new one every single day.
Absolutely.
Not everyone is right for everyone.
Right.
But you need to pay attention, understand what each of these new channels does and who it attracts and who's having success with it and who should maybe model the example off of. You need to understand it. You don't have to embrace it, but you need to understand it and understand you can't sit on one and stay there forever. It needs to expand out, but it needs to be in an organic way. You need to almost let your audience push you to, hey, we're all on Clubhouse now. Yeah. Hey, we love your podcast. Now we're all in Clubhouse because we want to have conversations with you, not just listen to you talk. Or we're over here on YouTube, or we're on I'm trying to think of some of the ones I've seen recently, and by the time I say it, you never know.
It's gone.
So that's why you don't have to be on every single one. You don't have enough time and effort in the day to be on every single one of them, but you can't ignore all of them. You need to figure out the ones that make sense to you and be on as many as possible in the way that's supposed to be on that. So you can't just take the same content and just shove it across every platform.
Right.
Customize your content to it. There are plenty of tools out there, scheduling tools and other things like that will help you with it. So pay attention to the channels.
I would offer kind of a counterpoint, and that is that absolutely you need to know what channels are out there. You need to know who's doing what and who's being successful for what. But you may wish to just focus on one channel or two channels.
Primary and secondary.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you have to pay attention because you're right. The audience isn't static. Your stakeholders are moving.
Yep.
And
this goes back to the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% what works, 20% experimentation.
Yeah.
That experimentation should be new channels.
Yeah.
Dip your toe in. Even if you're just observing other people on the channel. Maybe you're not presenting on this channel, just observing.
Right.
Watching what's happening, watching what your competitors do, watching what people that are similar to you, people who have similar audiences to yours, etc. And again, it can be very time-consuming And it could be very daunting of a task to think, because these new ones pop up all the time and they all have different slants and things. But if you ignore it, you miss the opportunity.
Right.
And all I'm telling you, folks, is this is an opportunity for you in 2022. It's not essential. It's not critical. It's not, if you don't do this, your business will die. Right. But if you really want to build something big in 2022, you will at least have an understanding of all the channels.
Absolutely.
And if and when your brand should be there.
And that's a key point, because I don't want our audience to think that we're advocating for them to jump on every new thing that comes along. You need to understand it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
With that, I'm going to break this episode into two halves.
Okay.
We're going to the last two pieces on the next episode. I'll tell you right now. Now, I'll tell you right now that in the future, we're going to talk about these two things: data analysis and activation. 2022 is the year of data.
Yeah.
We will talk about, and we'll do a full episode on data activation and data analysis. Everyone has the tools at their fingertips if they approach it correctly. So we will go in depth on a future episode of what to look for in 2022, because I believe that may be the number one key to being successful in 2022.
Well, and I think data is scary to people as research.
It is.
I mean,
right. It sounds daunting.
They're hand in hand,
yes.
right? You can't have data without research.
We will break down the real world ideas about how to utilize it, because I think it's that important.
I think it is that important.
I think it's so important in 2022. I'm going to skip it today. I'm going to do a whole episode on just that.
Yeah.
Because I want to go really deep in that. So I'm going to end this with just some trends to watch real quick. Crypto, will it go mainstream or not?
Don't know.
If it does, will it actually kill the appeal of it?
Yeah.
You know, if your dad thinks it's cool, you may not anymore. So
right. Don't sing my music, Dad.
Yeah, that's right. Will dads kill crypto, or will they embrace it? Will blockchain be just demystified, or continue to just be a term that people use that most people don't understand?
Right.
Look for that in 2022. NFTs, right? They're hot right now. Will they stay that way? Will they remain fringe? Will they become mainstream? Who knows? Similar to crypto, your dad might kill NFTs if he embraces them or not. If your grandpa's buying NFTs, then the young kids are going to stop doing it, of course, right? Hybrid events, live with the streaming option.
Right.
Not because we're afraid of COVID or because we can only put so many people in a place, but because we want to expand our audience and give opportunities to other people. That's right.
Absolutely.
Huge opportunities for that in 2022. Democratization of everything. Audience deciding what happens.
Okay.
It's going to be everywhere in 2022.
Interesting.
And it's going to be important. And the people who do it the best will see the most success from it. And in 2022, you're going to see new money, literally the difference between old money and new money, people making new money, new to the game, putting their new money in new places for new reasons.
Okay. Interesting.
Money and investment and people collaborating and how businesses get started and expanded and sped up from an MVP to an actual startup to a legitimate business. All of that is going to be rapid and different than ever before in 2022.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We're going to watch those.
Those are the trends to watch in 2022.
Absolutely.
We will return with data analysis and activation in another episode, because I want to go deep into that conversation. But that's the other aspect of 2022 I think is super important for you guys to all know and understand.
Well, and I think it is important to demystify that whole process so that people won't be intimidated.
Yes.
So I look forward to that.
We're going to break it all down, make it actionable for everyone.
Accessible.
There you go, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. This episode, we went a little long, but 2022 is going to be a big year. It's the beginning of the year. We really wanted to lay as much information on you as possible. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment, leave us a review, tell a friend, and until next time, good luck.
Ciao.
This has been the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend, leave a review, and engage with us on social media. Thanks for listening.